We live? We're live right now. All of a sudden here in Arizona, a lot of people thinking about solar. Have you had somebody come to your door, though, a salesperson, and tell you you're going to save all this money because of solar and then it really not happening? We're going to take a look at that.
We're also going to look at letters that are apparently maybe making a recurrence, saying that you might lose your insurance, you might face a suspension if you don't act now, but are they legitimate? Is it really happening? And what you should do if you actually get one.
And collections. I mean, how long, if you don't pay your credit card bill, how long do they have to come back after you? Now, I think you should be paying your bills, but if you don't, how many years can you get away with not paying your bill, and what can creditors do? We're going to take a look at all of that. It's Joe Ducey, KJ, producer here with Let Joe Know and ABC15 on every weekday morning here and on ABC15.com. And we're here actually for you, trying to find a way to communicate with some of the consumer problems you guys are having. That it's our chance to be able to talk with you one-on-one about some of the issues you're facing and some of the issues you just heard about. We're going to talk about in a few minutes. So if you got something you want to talk about, just post it there. We'll try to take a look at it, and you're going to have to take it down to the chat, and we'll try to answer those questions. But let's start with solar. We get so many complaints now with Let Joe Know involving solar. People come into the door, or even, you calling a company, they're coming out, and the salespeople pitching things that they are really overinflated.
Sound great.
They sound great until you get the systems. And sometimes it happens afterwards. Sometimes it happens before. Afterwards, you may get your solar panels, but not get the accessibility to it being used. That's not being hooked up, and you can't get the company to come back. In this case, this person writes, Clay, let's put up that first letter. It comes from Richard. And Richard says, we purchased solar panels in April of 2022. The salesperson wrote on the contract, the average bill would be $12 a month, and it's listed in the sales contract. What does he say there? We started to see the bills creep up. They said over and over that was nothing wrong with our solar, but that if there was the case, then I would ask why I was receiving $50, $80, $200 bills. So basically, the salesperson was promising it was going to be $12. And in these cases, I've been wanting to get somebody who had some proof in writing about what these salespeople are doing, or have a hidden camera in there to,
So much of it's door to door, and it's like he said, she said. But
it's not that we don't have a hidden camera out there right now. Any of you solar salespeople who may be watching right now, but just to make sure, instead of he said, she said, or verbal things. And in this case, we actually do have that. So let's go to that image, Clayton, that we have of what they gave us that was actually in their contract before. And if you look at this, it's month by month, and it gives you the details. This was for 2022. So it talks about the bill that they currently have, right? And if you go into the middle there, it says, this is what they plan your utility bill is going to be with the solar, $12.40, $11.20, $12. So right around $12, it's saying you're going to pay every month if you have this solar project with them. And then here's your savings on the right-hand side. It's like $143 all the way down. And in December, $137. I don't know how the heck they could tell you exactly how much you're going to save in your first year. Now,
crystal ball. Crystal ball.
Well, if you look at, and here's the thing that most people don't do when they get these things. I mean, it looks great and it sounds great, but I know too many times this is just a bunch of bull. I mean, it doesn't add up to be anything. If you look at the bottom of it, on this one, it says production and solar savings values shown on this chart are an estimate. Estimated production assumes equipment is maintained and free from damage. Estimated projection is based on your current bill. So this is just totally a bunch of BS.
It's basically like a nice little chart that they put together that looks really good. And it looks like all you see is, $12, $12, $12. And then at the bottom, which we couldn't clip here, it shows estimated in tiny little print. But it's kind of one of those things. It's kind of like almost like car salesman, like, ooh, look, shiny, look at all these features, look at the security stuff. And then, but you don't get down to like the nitty gritty, like what you actually get. It's just kind of surface level stuff. It sounds good. Yeah.
If you take a look at these contracts, that's really what you have to do. I know people say it all the time, and, but the details are really important. You have to take a close look at all this stuff. So if you see it's estimated, I mean, this looks really great, but man, you have to question whether how do they know how much you're going to save? This guy's getting bills now of $200, and it said you're going to get $12. I found one person the other day who she's 70 years old and spent $120,000 on solar. I mean, think about how it's really going to impact you, how long you're going to live. the impact of what's going to happen if you have to sell your house or give it to somebody else. Do they have to take over your solar at that point, right?
Right. That was one of the things that we've talked about is, it limits you to how you can then sell your house in the future if that's ever something you want to do, because whoever buys it has to take on that loan. Or for that woman, like you were saying, you have to think of how long the loan is. How is she going to be paying this off for the rest of the life? At a certain point, it might not be worth it. Yeah.
So anyway, if it's solar, if somebody comes to your door, or if you're looking at solar, really, really talk to them about them and look up their reviews, and ask, not only look up the reviews, but ask for references, ask for people who had solar with them, and maybe 5 people, and then contact them and ask them how it was done, because we're really seeing a lot of problems in that industry. All right.
So our next one that we wanted to talk about is Dennis, who wrote in, asked about a reference. He referenced a story that Joe previously did about ADOT registration suspension letters. And it says they're still happening over the last 6 months. I just got my 4th this week in the mail. I got these for 3 of our cars, twice in 2 months. The last wound up suspending 1 plate, even though I provided proof of coverage. So this is going back to a story that Joe did in April 2022. Basically, when you were talking about, we had all these people write in who were getting letters from ADOT saying that if they didn't act now, their insurance would be suspended. But these people had the correct insurance and they were still getting, threats of suspension. And you even talked with insurance professionals of Arizona who were saying, their agents were running out of ways to kind of get this proof to ADOT, which was one of the main problems. So it's people.
They said there was a problem with the system, I think. And
right. And ADOT came back and said there isn't, but
now they're having it again.
But now this one's coming up again. So one of the big things that I just kind of wanted to point out was, if these are sent in error, well, first of all, you should know if you have insurance or not. So it's pretty easy for you to tell if they're sent in error. And then, get in contact with your insurance agent quickly. Because one of the things is they should be able to reach out. If you have proof, you shouldn't have to jump through all these hoops to be able to prove it. But then the biggest thing is, I know you saw a lot of people who were getting these letters and it was such a hassle to be able to prove that they had insurance that they just ended up paying the $50 reinstatement fee.
So, and then we went back and we got some of that money refunded to them, right? Because we found out who paid this reinstatement fee when they shouldn't have had to pay it. And all these people wrote in and said, well, I paid it. Here's proof of this. One person paid it twice. It's just, I think it was $50, right?
Yeah, it's $50.
It's $100 or for a couple cars. And then we went to ADOT and said, hey, they've got proof of this, and they gave the money back, but it was just charging them in the first place. That was the bottom line. It's one thing, it's a hassle, and that's a big deal, to prove the insurance, but then to charge them extra because they didn't do what they had done, so that's a big deal. So I hate the fact it's coming back. I thought we kind of actually had that one nipped in the bud. Veronica came up with one of the viewers here. So I don't know if you can put this up, Clayton, but it says, I have a problem with getting my pool remodel completed by a guy that has already been paid for supplies. My pool is completely unusable, empty, and scraped out. Can Joe help? Well,
I'm worried that guy's in parentheses.
Yeah, and I don't know. I guess, Veronica, a couple things. Well, one, first of all, write us at joe@abc15.com, joe@abc15.com. And I say to do that because it goes through a system. We've got a 25-person volunteer team, volunteer coordinator. Everybody looks at this stuff. And so that's the best way to try to get help. But if you can, give some details. What's the name of the company? And we've had a few companies we've done stories on recently. If you go to letjoeknow.com, abc15.com/letjoeknow. And you can see those there.
What it really comes down to is if the guy is, licensed or not, because that's one of the things that gives you the most protection. So if they are licensed, a legitimate company, everything's in order, then I'd bring in the ROC already.
Now you paid him. So you paid him for the supplies. I don't know if you paid him for also some of the work up front. The other thing is there's a law now in Arizona about paying people when you're putting in a pool. Right. Does it look like it's pool remodel? See, the remodel, I'm not sure. It would have to be putting in the pool. I'm not sure if remodel anyway. But bottom line is, if you're not getting what you're supposed to be getting, then write us and go to the ROC, file a complaint with them. And I'd like to take a look at it, but just give me some details about what you paid and what the contract says and all that. All right. Hopefully you have a contract with them, Veronica. I'm assuming you do. A lot of people don't. That's the first thing to do is get a contract that states what you have to have done. So too many times we come back, we had, say, a remodeling in the house. And we've had cases where they come back and say, well, I paid him $30,000 and they were supposed to do, the cabinet's supposed to be white and the da-da-da and this color. And where's your contract? And the colors in the contract will say maybe $30,000, maybe not, but and it will say
too vague.
Kitchen cabinets, flooring and not specifics about what any of this stuff should be. So, get your contracts as specific as possible, even if it's a good deal. Okay. Don't think that, and this happens a lot of times, I think, oh, well, I don't want to mess with it because it's such a good deal. I don't want to anger him or whatever it is. Those are the people you should be worried about, I think.
It's too good of a deal.
Too good, yeah. All right, let's go to the third one here. We have involving collection agencies.
Next one, please, Clayton. Sorry.
Yeah. This one's from Sean, and Sean asks, oh, not that yet. That one's great. They are a collection agency. Sent me a bill for $300 for an ambulance trip. And the ambulance thing is another whole deal. But my understanding is that there are different statutes of limitations on collection of medical debt in Arizona, longest which is 6 years. 6 years would have run out by whatever. So when I really got in contact with them after I mentioned status that they would settle for $150. The thing about this person is,
so their incident happened in 2016, though.
The interesting thing about this person is that they had no idea this was even an issue. Suddenly it comes back up. So they didn't hear about this for a long time because it was, 6 years ago. And now suddenly they're hearing about it again. So we wanted to look up what the collection limits were in Arizona. It's actually state by state. And we found this. Clayton, if you want to put up the next thing. This is just, these are the top 3 states with, I had to get alphabetically, but Arizona, the last one down here. So these are basically contracts. If it's an oral agreement, collection agencies have 3 years, written 6 years, promissory notes 6 years, judgments 4 years. What's interesting, look at judgments. 4 years for Arizona.
Oh, sure.
To be able to collect, or 20 years in Alabama. I just happen to have Alabama and Alaska up there because it was in front of it, but that's interesting. So 6 years basically, and I wanted to go a little bit more into that if I can.
What would an
figure out where all
ambulance
these
be,
papers
though?
are. It's like all up in
Medical
the air.
debt.
Huh?
Medical debt. What would ambulance be under?
I think it'd be medical debt, and medical debt would be 6 years. And of course, I didn't bring it. But anyway, I think medical debt is 6 years that you have. But here's the thing: collection agents, I think you should pay what you owe, right? But if you didn't hear about this for a long period of time, or thought that you paid it, or did pay it, you should confront that. But in most cases, it is 6 years that they have to be able to come after you, and a lot of it's credit card debt, and that's what they have. But they can then sell it to a second market, and try to get pennies on the dollar. So you may get somebody after 6 years who's one of these places that picks it up for just a little bit of money, trying to get anything they can from you, they may settle for, say, $6,000 of debt. They may settle for $1,000 or $600, whatever they can get, because by now it's been written off. But if they can get something from you, then.
And that might be one of the things, the collection agency now reaching out to her saying, we'll settle for $150, which if she's being told that you owe $300 and they'll settle for $150, it probably sounds good. But good on her being like, I have 6 years and that's over.
Yeah.
So she's not settling,
If you go to, if you Google Arizona legislature, judicial branch maybe, or courts, Arizona courts, there's a great page there, and I printed it up there to bring it. But there's a great page there that talks about all the different debts, how long you have for them to be able to come and get the money or whatever that is. But yeah, that's basically the rule in Arizona, is about 6 years. So yeah, and the ambulance debt is another whole thing.
And I don't know, there's so many different rules about medical debt too, and
it's changing.
I wonder if this would go under the new surprise billing. It's a lot of things that maybe they didn't necessarily let us know. But
so in other words, if you owe something and know you owe it, I think you have to pay it. But if you don't owe, or you're not sure about those things, then I'd really fight it before you give any money to any of these people. All right, I'd look it up. Let's move
go.
on.
Our next
I don't
one.
know if we have any more.
Not yet. So our next one, this has to do with Groupon. So this woman wrote in, I purchased 7 tickets for an upcoming show. It has its moments.
Yeah.
I purchased 7 tickets for an upcoming show at the Footprint Center on December 3rd. I purchased through Groupon. I was assigned seats in section 221. I believe this is a system error since tickets are not available for sale on Ticketmaster in section 221. She contacted Groupon immediately, asking to reassign in an open section or cancel or order. Groupon said it was Ticketmaster's fault, and Ticketmaster is essentially pointing at Groupon. So if we can go actually to the next slide too. So I looked this one up when it came in, and on December 3rd, it's Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which we talked about. And then I looked up the ticket.
Who goes to see this? Maybe, hey, listen.
I have an aunt
we want to
go
hear
see
from you
this
guys.
every year.
This whole thing is what's bugging you? Does the Trans-Siberian Orchestra bug you? We want to know. Did you pay for tickets last year? Just thought these guys are just, this is worthless. No, probably they're really good, right? They're great. I know. Every year they come back and they sell out.
Yeah.
So anyway.
But so I also looked up the Ticketmaster on the other side of the screen, Ticketmaster seating chart for this show, and 221. Great. According to Ticketmaster, they really aren't selling this section, which makes sense since Trans-Siberian Orchestra, it has all the lights and everything, so you wouldn't want to sit behind the stage.
The whole gray area here.
Yeah, the whole gray area.
Yeah. Okay.
So but when I was thinking about this one, so obviously, I mean, looking at this and, we haven't spoken to her, I think she's right. I don't think they are selling that section, but whose fault is it? Is it Groupon's fault, which is a third party? I was thinking about this. It makes me think about airlines, like third party, like Expedia, Orbitz, Travelocity, anyone that you might buy it. If you have a problem, oftentimes they point to the airline there, say, figure it out with them. Yeah. But you never dealt with the airline before. So like in this case, she's never dealt with Ticketmaster, but Groupon's pointing to them. I just feel like consumers are screwed when it comes to third parties. I think
the problem's with Groupon. It seems like problems with Groupon. I mean, maybe they can get, these guys to help them, but it seems like, why is Groupon selling something they can't give?
Yeah. And I mean, like she said, reassign a seat, something else. It's not like she didn't seem like she was asking for a ton, like if you're willing to work with someone too. I think that's a lot of it gets kind of lost in the middle there.
And I think the airlines analogy is good because I think that we've had a number of people who go through Expedia or through whoever it is. And I'm not saying those guys are bad anyway, but when they want to get something, they have a hard time because they say, go back to your airline. And then the airline says, go back to them because you bought it through them. And it's like back and forth. So you really have to press these guys. And a lot of times they just want you to give up. So you really, really have to be persistent and just kind of keep at them. And it's a pain in the butt. You have it on your to-do list and you can't get it off of the to-do list. Anyway, yeah, so Groupon is interesting too. I used to use Groupon all the time. Then I didn't hear about it. Remember Living Social too? Was that other one they had?
I never used Living Social.
No, yeah.
I did use Groupon.
Yeah. All right.
Not for a while, but
we're moving on. Which one are we at?
Rent fees.
Oh man. Rent fees. Oh, how many renters are out there? I mean, I talk about this every time we do this. A lot of people renting and a lot of people paying way too much money. And these silly fees are so stupid. I mean, we'll put it up there already. This one's interesting because, look at the first one. The utility turn on fee, $28.80. I'm sorry. You know what I want to do that? Hang on a second. Oh man, we were playing with this earlier. What I'd say to that is, let's go. There you go.
Looking for a
I've been looking for a chance to use that. Yeah, $28.88 utility turn-on fee. I mean, not even the utility fee. I understand now you're paying utilities, but the turn-on fee, and it looks like it's every month.
Also, usually when you move into an apartment, you have to pay the utility turn-on fee to the utility, not to the apartment. Like if I have to have SRP APS come in to turn something on, usually it's like a certain, like you deal with them. You don't pay the apartment.
Well, then, okay, so that's 28. Okay, turn off fee. These are additional one-time. Oh, that says one-time move-in fee. Okay, $12.88 monthly utility fee. This is an administrative charge on top of paying for water, sewer, and that's what. So $28.88, I guess, is the first time, and then, but even that is ridiculous because you're right. You probably have to go to the electric or the utility company, but then $13 every month.
This makes me think
administrative fee. What? Let me just pay my own through APS or through SRP, not have to pay $13 to you every month to pay the bill that I could pay on my own. Just like the trash valet service that I want to go out to the dumpster and put my trash out. Not here, I have to pay $40 for something I don't want.
Well,
you know
and
what I say
with
to
utility,
that? You know what I say to that? Sorry.
You have to have it up and ready.
I know. Okay, that's the last time I'm going to use it.
No, it's not. But and one of the things is people who are trying to build credit, utility payments are a way that sometimes you can be used to kind of build and show a history of credit. So I think having to go through the apartment for that sucks. It bugs me.
It does. Well, here's the other one that I want to get. We didn't get to this. $12.75 monthly boiler management fee. The boiler, it's like the boiler room, back of the it sounds like an outdated heater reference. I don't know. Monthly boiler management fee.
But
Okay,
it also
so
just sounds like wear and tear of, you're supposed to
boiler.
maintain a property. So I don't understand why you have to pay rent and then for property maintenance and then for all this stuff too.
Okay, and then all right, so we're gonna have to get moving here, but that's that. And then the last thing I want to show real quickly is we're going to be on the road with Let Joe Know, and that's next Wednesday. So it's a good opportunity for you to come out and meet Katie Rammel. It's a good opportunity to come out and talk to us about your complaints. Bring your paperwork. It's a really good chance. 30 consumer experts and attorneys are going to be there. Tempe Marketplace, 5 to 7, October 4th. All kinds of issues, anything consumer,
landlord, tenant,
construction, attorney general's office scams, any of those things. But it's a great opportunity to talk one-on-one because I think people get tired of talking over the phone. So anyway, we got to get rolling here. But hope we hit some things that were bugging you, and we'll see you again on ABC15.com and
or Wednesday.
or next Wednesday. Yeah. All right. See you this Wednesday.